Welcome back, everybody. I am Follygon. We are still working on D.VA. In the last part here, we threw in some hair on here really quick, and kind of just left it really rough and just fast and junky. So let's go ahead and redeem at least part of this, and see what we can do a little bit with this hair. And after taking a little bit here, you start to notice some more stuff going wrong in the proportions, but it's good to kind of spread yourself around, not focusing all in one place, and I've said that a few times here as well. So let's go ahead and duplicate this head, and we can go ahead and grab our curved tube snap brush, which we've been using so often here, and I can go ahead and begin blocking out the bangs of her hair. And she has a bit of a part over on this side of her head, if you look at the character. So we'll get that in there. So there's going to be some asymmetry inherently in here. I'm just going to use this brush since it's, just a default brush. I won't use any crazy hair brushes, at least just yet. So I'm just using a tube here, and then I'm going to use my move brush with backface masking. And I'm just going to use that to kind of get that into position. Pressing the D key, pretty helpful. Can use that to get a dynamic smooth on there. Dynamic subdivision actually is what it's called. And that's just really good for seeing what it will look like once we do subdivide it. So that's fine for now. We can just go ahead and keep getting that basic shape in there. And for up here on this piece, let's go ahead and pull this up, making sure backface masking is not on. So we can kind of get that difference, that asymmetry there, and we can start to block a little bit more of all of these shapes in and have it not look quite so terrible. And again, we're just focusing on big shapes, so I'm gonna Z-remesh down to my lowest possible value of 0.1. That might take a minute there. There we go. And then from here, it's just gonna be easier for me to kind of mess with this shape overall. And looking at some other pictures, I've seen her with shorter hair. I think maybe I was looking at fan art of some pictures of D.VA with just really long hair, and I don't think the game in-game model has quite that long of hair. We'll throw in the bust here soon as well, so we can start aligning a lot more of this stuff together. So the focus here is on getting the bangs, and then just the, I don't know what the word is, dichotomy between the different sides. So we want a bit of a V shape here, which we already got kind of forming, and we'll keep messing with this to get there. An interesting technique that I'm using here to switch subtools with, if you're not aware of it and you are trying to kind of increase your workflow, you can, instead of going over here every time, you can just alt-click on your subtool to switch to it. And that's pretty much the way that most people, I think, do it, but just in case that one slipped past you and you didn't know that existed, that's a really helpful way to do that. So I'm just going to keep trimming this down, and we can get that quite a bit closer to the shape that we need. And you'll see me, I keep saying trim and whatever, but I'm using the trim dynamic brush. It's just slightly varied. It's like my own version of it, but it's still pretty much just a normal trim brush for all intents and purposes. I just have it kind of doing a couple extra things for me. So, every time I load up ZBrush, I don't have to mess with the settings for every brush that I want to use. And I would recommend that you do the same thing, or if you do just want to go ahead and grab my brushes and my UI, you can do that over on my Patreon. So keep messing with this hair. For her, it doesn't come down in front of her eyes too much, looking at the main concept, but maybe down to about her brow. And we could even use a slice brush. Slice brushes are like my slice curve. It's my favorite brush that I use for doing just quick little cuts, and I'll show you that here. Just really fast. We can get a nice clean straight cut across there. Delete hidden close holes, and we got a nice little cut. And for now, let's not go ahead and do that. I want to keep our subdivisions here for a little bit longer, just so I can, I'm gonna end up remeshing this anyway to get that basic shape back in there. So hair takes a while. There are a few brushes that you can get to help you out in your workflow. One of those brushes, it's not a brush that I created, but it is a brush that I I found from another artist. It is called the Macon Hair Curves brush. I think it's a pretty popular brush. I think you can get it for free. I believe they offer it up for free. At least they did when I got it. So if you just give a search for Macon Hair Curves, you should be able to find that. And within that brush, and it's having some trouble there with the hair, we'll go ahead and try to, let's see here. We'll turn on Snap, and I believe that should let it go on top of the hair here. It looks like it is. It's fine. Just so you can see what that's looking like there. And then within that, by pressing the M key, I have a bunch of other options in here. So we could try Tube instead and see just the different variations of hair, curves, and tubes, and flats, and such that we can get. So these are great for kind of increasing your workflow, like I was saying. But, you know, most of the time, if you just want to practice, get the practice in there, or do all the work yourself and have the most control over the shape of what the hair is going to look like in the end. So it's pretty easy for us to add some texture to this later down the road. So for me, you know, we'll just stick with the basic kind of flat geometry plane that we're creating here. And we'll be able to develop more on that as time goes on. So we'll continue to work on this. You know, I want to think kind of big shape here. So I want to get some, maybe some flow going on with that hair shape, as well as, you know, maybe let's go ahead and get actually a couple just subdivisions in here, just so we don't have to worry about working on that lowest subdiv with the geometry not always cooperating. It's a little bit nicer when you can step up and down and you know, have a bit more polygons to work with. But just do be careful with that, because it is pretty easy to let that get out of control, and then all of a sudden you're at 4 million polys and you can't control your mesh at all and you have no idea what's going on. That's a huge problem that I used to run into when I was just starting out, so just be aware of that. Alright, looking at this hair, I'm trying to look at the concept here. Just to get an idea of the shape of these bangs. They're curving in a bit, so we'll try and replicate that. And I'm just doing a quick and dirty method here to at least rough in that curve shape. And I'm essentially just using a select lasso here to delete some corners. And it's not the best way to do it, but you know, it's quick, and I do enjoy quick solutions. Quick and efficient solutions. But, you know, sometimes the quickest solution isn't super efficient. So, it's good to practice a bunch of different stuff and try to find something that works well for you. You know, I just kind of try to use the tools that I have available to myself, and then from there, you know, try to find what else I can use it for. So I have lots of different purposes for lots of just a few brushes. Sorry. So just real quick to show you what our texturing on this hairpiece could look like. Let me flatten this out real quick down here, just to clean that up just a tad. So sharp, soft edge brush, and this is in my bonus content pack. But real quick here, turning lazy mouse on. Getting a quick stroke. It's pretty similar to a damn standard brush, so if you're looking for a similar kind of brush, that's a good way to do it. I like to turn my Z intensity down very low, and then from there get some nice like S curves going, and that one doesn't look super great, but you know, you I think can get the idea just by looking at this, how you can quickly go about getting those kind of shapes and textures. But the overall primary form of this, the primary shape of this hair block here, this hair strand, these bangs, is not where we want it. So I think you've heard me say before, not the best texturing work in the world or high resolution detail can save a bad base sculpt, your primary forms, your most basic shapes, and that's absolutely true in this case. So you saw me working on that, and that texture wasn't looking super good on here. That's because the basic shape and how these things are all interacting together isn't looking super great just yet. But, you know, all things in good time, including the character's face here. So, you know, this stuff does take a while, so I apologize that I'm not just lightning quick, you know. Most of the time the stuff that you've seen me do in the past is all sped up. So I guess here now you can see, holy crap, this guy's so slow. And you know, it takes a long time to do this stuff. It's not easy. It's super not easy. But you know, I keep saying you know, and I'm gonna try to stop that, you know? Well, let's leave that in there for now. Look at this real quick. I think I want this to come down just a bit more. And I'm not sure how I want this to interact on this side. Might have to look at my reference a little bit here and just take some time to do some D.VA studying. Maybe I'll play some Overwatch, play D.VA for a while, you know, really get in the head space of D.VA, how she would do her hair, how she would sculpt her hair if she was a digital artist. You know, if anybody on the Overwatch team is actually a digital artist, I guess it would be D.VA. She's like the techie video. Well, no, that's not true. There's the new character, and I think her name's Sombra. I'm not positive. I kind of stopped playing before she became popular. But, you know, maybe D.VA or Sombra would be the digital artist, if that is that character's name. So at this point, I would like to start getting some big strands. This is kind of like the blocked out portion, so I know kind of the base to follow for the hair, if you kind of understand. You'll see here in a sec. I'm going to stick with, well, actually, let's, you know, since I did show you the Macon, is it hair tubes, hair curves? Macon hair curves brush, we can go ahead and at least play around with it a little bit so you can see what's going on here, get an example of it. Let me adjust my curve fall off here. Just for me personally, I like to start my hair at the root and then flow it down. And the way it is initially, it's kind of the opposite of that. And I'm just not really a fan of that. So just a quick little adjustment there. I'm going to turn my Z intensity down, and that should, we'll see here, make it a bit more thin. And it's having trouble sticking to that, so I'll turn on solo mode and hopefully we'll get a bit luckier. The Macon, like I said, that's why curved tubes is nice, because you can have a bit more control over that. You know, this has some nifty secondary forms going on in here already, but if I want to adjust this, it can be difficult to retain a lot of that information. So we'll play with it though. We'll hold on to it for now. And this gets very thin there at the end. So real quick, let's take a step back. I'm gonna replace this brush with my Macon hair curves. And I would like to pull this up a little bit. That should get rid of that weird little janky piece happening at the end there. And it looks like it did. It still gets pretty thin, so maybe we'll pull it up just a little bit more. Let's see. Alright, that looks pretty good. And you know what? We're here, so we might as well try. We'll try. There we go. Get it to stick a little bit better. Whoopsie. And we'll pull it up here. If we can get it to cooperate. Ooh, there we go. And I think we'll keep that. We can kind of adjust the shape here using masking, using our transpose tool, using our move brush, and all these kind of tools to kind of start to get stuff into place. And then next time we will continue to add in more hair tubes, and we'll keep playing with the hair. And then after that, I think we'll start to throw in the body so we can get the bust shape, and we'll keep moving forward. So I will see you guys in the next one.